Hi, welcome to another segment of Our Ventura TV. My name is George Alger, and today's guest expert is MB Hanrahan, who is a highly regarded community artist, and she does fine art as well here in Ventura. Welcome, MB.
I feel very welcome.
Yay. Okay, I'd like to touch upon some things that you're very familiar with, which is community art and how you get things done. But let's just talk a little bit, first of all, just frame this a little bit by stating some of the stuff that you've done, just kind of highlighting some of the community projects you've done in recent years.
Thank you. One of the projects that people are very familiar with, and if you aren't, you should be, is a mural called the Tortilla Flats mural. You see it on where the 101 freeway crosses over Figueroa Street in far west end Ventura. Some people may know it because it also Figueroa runs along where our fairgrounds are. And that mural, done with Moses Mora, based on oral histories of residents who lived in a neighborhood that was displaced when the 101 freeway was built. So that mural's been up. This is the second emanation of it, and it was a partnership with the city of Ventura. I have murals at various schools. Sometimes people grew up working with me on the schools. The Ventura Unified School District is one of my biggest collectors, working currently on the third of a trilogy of murals at what was called Satacoy Elementary. It is now Atlas School, also at Buena High School. Deanza, now called Data, Sheridan Way, and Poinsettia, and various venues around town, commercial outlets and public buildings on the outside of them. We'll look for the name MB Hanrahan. And if it isn't mine, yay murals, go murals.
Cool. All right, let's just comment on the benefit of public art, in this case particularly murals, to the community.
Well, for starters, usually a colorful, informative, communicating, positive painted wall is much better than a blank wall. And actually, contrary to what some people think, it is a deterrent to graffiti most of the time. It is a deterrent rather than a magnet. That's been my experience. Murals have traditionally been a voice for the voiceless, so that is why a lot of times, although individual, highfalutin, fine artists take on doing murals, and we think of the Sistine Chapel and such like that, actually the Sistine Chapel is a good example, because often murals are there to communicate through pictures, not so much words, but through pictures, information. They're like, murals are cousins to billboards and advertising, really, and they crop up when there's unrest. They crop up when people want to say something, but they don't have a voice or a venue to say something. And then in my case, murals became a very accommodating vehicle to going to, say, youth correctional facilities, and or to walk onto the campus of a school. Paint's not going to hurt anybody. Nobody can hurt each other with brushes, and virtually anybody can step up and participate without prior knowledge or being like an excellent artist. I mean, if you are, great, that contributes as well. Prior experience sometimes is a detriment to the freedom of a gigantic picture. So, and if I may, I'll tell you a story. There's two things happen to me in my life concerning like public art, which is also, of course, can be large sculptures, which I've done as well, that got me into it, because actually not until really college did I like bust out and start actually making bigger work. I work in a very controlled, tight, very small fashion. A women's conference was coming to Humboldt State. There was an area outside between Eureka and Arcata where the university is. There was a slough, like there was one in San Francisco, where people would just throw up sculptures and just put them up overnight, and you'd be driving down the freeway and just go see them. And so they're like, wouldn't it be great? Someone approached me, I can't remember, approached me and my friends. Wouldn't it be great if all of a sudden this sculpture emerged in conjunction with this women's conference? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I really wasn't building much at this time. I never had no prior experience as a carpenter or anything. And as happens, I had this group and I did this cardboard design. Everybody's like, yeah, that's great. And then I realized like the ball just kind of was handed to me. Nobody else was really that interested. And me and a couple people built this fairly gigantic sculpture. And this was beyond anything I'd ever done. I can't believe it. It worked. We smuggled it out there, and it blew my mind, and it blew my teachers' minds as well. They were like, I would never have you build my house. I'm like, I know.
But how many feet high?
I mean, it was like 24 feet long and 15 feet off the air. It was like these intersecting women's symbols. I mean, you know, we're talking, this was a college student, me, in the 80s, in the early 80s. Never done anything like that in my life. It all interlocked so we could carry it out in pieces, which actually now is also sort of a trademark of my style of working in small, manageable pieces that all go together. And I utilize that too. So it's just saying how I didn't know what that was leading to. Then years pass, I get into mural painting through actually looking to work as a display artist, painting windows. I mean, not windows, the glass, but inside the windows, behind the mannequins and such. I'm doing murals. I moved to Ventura County, doing murals. And this woman approaches me from public health, Jean Scott, retired now, and she's like, I see that you paint these big murals, you seem to be able to get people to do things, a la Tom Sawyer. You make it look like a lot of fun, people want to do it, and for no money. And she's like, I noticed that you do this, do you think you could angle this to work with kids in these correctional facilities? And thus, and I just said, yeah, that's fine. And that really kind of started, it kind of re-kicked my career as using murals in an education way, you know, an educational component, and working with all sorts of people and in institutions to use murals to do group art. So I just share those stories because I really had no idea how my fate was going to go, and it was sort of like external influences watching me and giving me the suggestion of what would be good for me in my life. So the murals are a gift. And then last but not least, there's one more story about them, that I was getting a little tired of painting murals. This was after the first Tortilla Flats mural was completed. I was very burnt out. I had started teaching thinking that I'll get out of this mural business. This is ridiculous. Everybody does computer art. Everything's going digital. Why am I working in this anachronistic form of painting on walls? This is crazy. So I went to India to cool out and get away, get out of my frying pan. And lo and behold, I'm in this world, I'm in this land, and there's 2,000-year-old murals staring me in the face. And I'm going caves and finding painted murals, and I'm like, I went all the way from Ventura to India to realize that I have been given the greatest gift. I've been given the greatest gift. What you see at the very beginning of every art history book is pretty much paintings on a wall. Pretty much there's handprints on a wall, and if I can channel this ancient art form, as strange as it may seem here in 2014, so be it. So pretty much after that India trip, I figured I was going to stop fighting what appeared to be my destiny and go for it for as long as it sustained me.
Well done. And congratulations on all the successes you've had. And as you've highlighted, some of them are not paid at all, and they're really just a gift to the community. Nevertheless, some of them are. And
yes.
From an outsider looking in, it just kind of looks like, oh, you're fortunate or you're lucky, and that's not the truth. All right, there's so much work behind it. So could you comment upon how you yourself have taken responsibility to forward aesthetics into the community, but also, in addition to doing nonprofit activities where you're not paid, doing it in a way that you do get paid?
Excellent. Yes. I will say that it is true. There have been times where I have thought of an idea. The Tortilla Flats mural would be a good example. It was an idea that we had, and then having this idea, how do we get the money? So for me, it kind of follows a couple different ways. If I get a good idea, I start having my feelers out for methods of funding. The other thing that happens a lot is someone will ask me to do a mural. They have little funding or not very much funding, so I say, that's a good idea. Let's find a partner. And then, so then I'm out looking for feelers that want to partner with someone who has a little bit to bring to the table. So this takes a lot of work, but it's kind of fun because, again, you never know where you're going to find your pot of gold. Sometimes when I think of an idea, I'll just keep on thinking the idea and waiting. Sometimes someone will say, like what just happened this morning, I have a group of kids, I'd like to, pay you to work with a group of kids on a workshop, a mural workshop. And then for me, I'm like, well, it would be much more fun to do a mural actually on a real wall where real other people are going to see it instead of just something in our studio that we're going to dismantle or throw away at the end. So I started thinking about it, and I thought about a building that I'd noticed in town where there was a lot of changes going on, like someone was putting a little attention into the building. So I hit them up and I said, hey, I'm going to be doing some mural with some kids. We'd be open to a theme. Do you have a wall for us, maybe? So when I recommend to people, like, that's a great idea, don't give up. And I also say, well, now start opening your mind. Let's invite the universe in. It's as cliche and crazy as it sounds, because there's people out there that have money to spend. There's people that have money to spend. They don't have the time to do a mural. They'd like to see something positive done. There's people that want to do something, but they have no wall, no paints, no anything. Find them, get the little work group together. So my experience has been that in the past where sometimes people would just hand you a chunk of change. Now it's much more so that maybe you start with a seed, whether it's the idea or some initial funding, and then start, as I say, make your product very attractive so it attracts the resources to make it a reality.
Good. So you have definitely painted a picture of a lot of additional work beyond the picture itself, beyond the murals. All right?
Yes, a lot.
Pun intended. But if it were possible to sort of average out a ratio of work to art, I mean, in other words, it actually takes 90% of preparation, and the whole activity of creating the art is really only 10%. I mean, that's an arbitrary comparison. But have you, so that someone who's approaching this could also really get their wits around what it takes, what do you think a ratio would be in terms of preparation to get things in place before you're actually doing the work?
If not 50-50, there are times where I would almost say it was 75% preparation work and then 25% painting, because and that would even include the design and getting designs approved as well. I tell my students that the painting is the easiest part. I don't know, that maybe would blow some people's minds, but as far as I'm concerned, by the time I get to the execution of the work, people ask me, why do you work so fast? I'm all, because the project's already done. It's already done in my mind. It's already done on paper. It's already done. Now I just have to complete the illusion and get something up there. When I call myself a community artist or an artist, there's all kinds of artists. There's the people that never talk to the public at all. They're so fantastic. Everybody comes to them. They have people selling their work. They have people, discovering them. That's just never been my road. And I don't know if it's my personality, probably. I'm pretty social. I enjoy interacting with people. Actually, I get energy in the interaction with people. I think I'm at my best in collaboration. Just one of those kind of people. I have a strong mind about what I'd like to see done, but I gain energy from these different connections. I completely love knowing and meeting people that are not artists at all. I'm very happy. I'm almost more nervous when I meet artists because I'm like, well, there's a real artist. Look at them. Look at how great their work is. Here I am, just come on, kids, let's go. But we still all create art. I would say that my art form is much more this kind of cooperative, collaborative energy, and that the art is the byproduct of what I do.
Well said. MB, we're out of time.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it goes fast. But could we get a website where people could go in case they wanted to find out more?
www.mduniverse.com.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you. Thanks again for being here and for all that you do for the community.
Thank you.
This is George Alger signing off for another segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.